Hey guys, welcome to this episode of In the Trenches. Our guest today is a fashion designer. In fact, she designs all of Megan Moroney's stage and red carpet outfits. It was a wonderful conversation, and I can't wait for y'all to hear it. But I want to remind y'all, please like, share, and subscribe if you're digging the content. So let's jump right now into it with Stefanie Naylor. All right, Stefanie, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm lovely, and I'm lucky to be here, and I'm lucky to be here with you. So thank you for taking the trek out here to the Hendersonville and to be in our little studio, hence my office.
Thank you so much for having me. Very excited.
Yeah, so you actually have worked with my boy Troy over here, right? On a Megan Moroney job or her album packaging, right?
Yeah, that was a really fun one.
That's cool. Was that for the album or a music video?
It was for the album.
Which album was that? The
Her newest one, Am I Okay?
Am I Okay? Okay. That's really cool. The so you are a fashion stylist.
Actually,
I'm a fashion designer.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a question because a fashion designer, but what is the difference between the fashion designer and a stylist? Meaning you fabricate the garments.
Exactly.
Right?
So I think the biggest difference is most stylists shop for pre-made things. And what I do is, especially the way I work my business, is I customize everything from beginning to end and make everything myself and work one-on-one with the clients.
That's cool.
So it's really
So
special.
all one of one pieces.
As of right now, yes, all one of one.
Oh, that's really cool. So where did that become a spark in your brain to go, I want to do this for a living? I can do this for a living.
Yeah, I think that was a really big shock factor for me when I realized it was a career and I could get paid to do this. I was in high school and a friend of mine had noticed that I was very creative and loved to sew and mentioned a show called Project Runway and said, I think you should watch that. I think you'd really like this show. And he was right. And just dove right into it, was obsessed, realized that I could make a career out of all of the things I already did.
Okay. Now, were you real in tune with your vibe or your style at that time when you discovered that? Were you like walking down the halls with a very unique fashion sense?
Goodness, this is hilarious. I was in high school, probably a freshman at that point, and I was really into dirt bikes at the time. So this was not the vibe at all.
I got something on my thing here about sparkles, and now
I know. It doesn't connect at all. So no, I was really discovering myself at that time, I'd say.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So where was this? Where did you grow up, or where was high school?
I grew up about an hour northeast of LA in Palmdale, California.
Okay.
I went to high school in Rosemont, which was even smaller. And it was just out in the middle of the desert, basically only existed because of an Air Force base out there.
I've shot many
I'm sure you're familiar.
of jobs in Palmdale.
Yes.
And I recognize it on the phone number, right? I was like, area
661,
code.
that's
What's
me.
up? Someone's representing some Lancaster Palmdale vibes.
Absolutely, forever.
Yeah, because they have the El Mirage Desert.
They do.
You know, the dry lake bed.
Yes.
They have all those forgotten desert buildings on the streets that are like A, K, you know, those things, all those weird things.
The grid.
I know the grid, exactly. So yes, Palmdale is out there.
It's out there.
And so what year was this?
This was probably 2005.
Okay, so really out there because remember, like
there wasn't anything happening.
Exactly. Palmdale did become what it is now, and it's another whole Valencia. It's a whole thing. You know, you can go out there and it's not necessarily a forgotten desert. Anyway, okay, cool. That's good. I like that visual now. So you're riding dirt bikes.
Sure was. That was against my better judgment. I'm not the most, graceful.
Okay, did you have brothers or something?
I had a little brother, but my neighbors were really into it, and the guy my mom was seeing at the time was into it. So I was like, "This sounds fun. Let's go."
And that's quite the hobby out there.
Oh
too.
yeah, there was nothing else to do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got into Project Runway, and you were like, okay, were you you know how like Melrose, they are known for those stores to go down to the fashion district, get the garments, come back up, sew some bells and whistles on it, and sell it for triple the price.
Right.
You know, Fred Siegel's and those, whatever. Was that something that you were doing? Meaning not selling, but you were like taking garments and making them your own style? When did that come about?
I guess because I grew up very lower middle class. I loved going to the thrift store and finding things, and I was very interested in vintage and finding my style. So I did a lot of that reworking, but not necessarily to resell it. I wasn't thinking with the business mind. I was just having fun with it.
Great.
So I guess that was an aspect of it.
As you should. When did you realize you wanted to make a business of it and push through the hobby, you know, to a business, I'm going to go do this?
I got accepted into fashion school in 2006, I believe, or 7.
Which school?
FIDM, the Fashion Institute in downtown LA.
Yeah.
And I think when I was about a junior in high school is when that happened. And so I knew what I was going to do right after graduating. And I actually started that summer. I didn't even take time off. I was like, let's just go get this party started. And when I was there and then started realizing everybody around me, just because they were in fashion school, didn't necessarily mean they had the same set of skills that I did. They just didn't want to go to a traditional college. Their parents wanted them to go to school, so that's what they settled on. Okay. And that, I think, became kind of frustrating for me to see because it took so much effort for me to be there. I had to take a train 2 hours each way just to get to school. And I was very determined to be there and was so passionate about what I was doing. So that was really hard. And then
I love hearing that. That's
thanks. Cool. Yeah. And then after I just decided I was going to get an internship, even though you technically weren't allowed for, I think, 2 years there. You had to be part of a certain program or whatever. And I was just in my first year and I was like, well, what if they don't know? I'm just going to ask. And I sent out an email to this one designer I'd seen on another show. Her name's Ashley Paige. She was doing this really cool thing with knit bikinis. Okay. Kind of like crochet, but on knitting machines. And it was blowing up. All the really cool, like, it girls in the, early, late 2000s were wearing her stuff. So reached out to her, started interning for her, was constantly working.
Hold back, because I like the idea. You reached out to her. I don't want to zoom past that.
Okay.
That takes, again, part of your, a number of your accolades is to not be frightened by a no. I mean, a lot of people are. You went right to the source. You knew what you wanted, and I'm sure that conviction came out to her. Did that happen? Was that an easy? How did that part happen? It
was just a cold email. I found her email address somehow. Internet stalking, I guess. Sure. And got something back. She said, come in for an interview. I took myself down to Hollywood and was like, hey, I'm here. What do I do?
My idol, Kevin Kerslick, said the same thing. When I was in Arizona, he was in LA.
Yeah.
He said, well, yeah, look me up when you get to LA. I moved 2 days later in a Jeep.
I love that.
I don't know.
You're like, say less, similar. I'll be there.
It's very, yes. I just knew what I wanted. And
exactly.
I didn't mean to derail your story, but I like that moment.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so yeah,
great.
so you're interning for Ashley now,
yeah.
right? And you learned a lot.
I didn't learn as much as I thought as far as like the hands-on sewing, that sort of aspect, but it was really cool to see her running a business. The area, I think I learned a lot. I was right across the street from Hotel Cafe, so It was so cool. Yeah. I loved that area.
Yeah, you ate well.
I sure did. Yeah, Cafe Etc. on the corner. I had a really good time.
Perfect.
So it was just opened my eyes. She also ran a dog rescue out of there. So that was really exciting for me. Animals have always been a passion for
Clearly,
me.
we have a friend.
Yeah.
We have your shelter, right?
We do. Lucky's here.
Lucky is here. He's the one rustling around here and Mama talking.
Sorry about the sound on that part.
No, it's great. It's great. That's so dogs are important, and her kind of beliefs fit into your zone.
Yes, that was my first intro to veganism. So I'm a vegetarian, but not because of that. But that was kind of like the seed was planted there.
Sure.
I saw my very first panic attack through her.
Was it yours or hers?
No, it was hers. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a thing. And so looking back now that I struggle with anxiety, it was interesting to see it firsthand through somebody else.
Sure. I have anxiety as well.
Yeah.
Mine is, I think of mine as more of a performance anxiety. I just have this constant stress and am anxious to have to perform at a certain level.
A lot of pressure.
Yeah. And that's maybe self-induced, we go into that all day long. But yeah, it's interesting that you you learned from a mentor kind of a shocking thing that you sometimes don't get to see.
No, I saw some stuff.
The stress, overwhelming.
Money issues.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping a business going.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to overextend. Wait, you're waiting on funds from clients. They're but you want to keep your people, answering your calls. So I know that. So, how did you know you wanted to get into? Well, actually, I'm gonna ask you a different way.
Okay.
Does celebrity interest you with your craft? Meaning, do you just is building the garment or the attire for the subject just as rewarding if it is for a wedding than if it's for a photo shoot for Megan Maroney? Is there a difference?
I think at that time, when I was very first starting out, it was really exciting to be around celebrities and knowing those were our clientele. But I was exposed to it so young. Mm-hmm. And now...
That's good.
Now I think it's more so just the special element of storytelling and connection. And that's what means the most to me. So it doesn't matter if it's a wedding dress for somebody that the world doesn't really know, but their family, there's something there. I put in part of like her mom's wedding dress, and there are just very special elements to it that are so personal. With celebrity now, especially with somebody like Megan, what is exciting to me is we're telling a story, and it's part of her armor. It protects her, makes her feel confident, and that's the special piece for me.
Yeah, that's really cool. We'll get into that in a little bit, I think. But is there, when you're doing, when a wedding, are you at the wedding then?
Sometimes.
Or are you kind of done at that point and now, or do you need to kind of be there to make sure? And what I was getting at, is there a difference in the energy between a red carpet or a celebrity event versus a wedding, or are they just as kind of similar productions in your lane?
I think they're all kind of similar. There's definitely something similar there, but
you have more publicists, and do you have publicists and people barking around you going, on this side, or on the wedding carpet side you don't, right? In the wedding you're kind of it's done, and not done, but they're kind of taking your word and you're done, right?
Yeah, so for weddings, I feel like there's always that final fitting.
Okay.
And that's where there's an element of that, just making sure everything is perfect and she's happy, and her family or friends, whoever is around her, feel like everything looks perfect. That's where we iron out all those little wrinkles.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, red carpet, where there is a lot more energy and people, and that's where they're seeing things for the first time. I guess it's the difference there.
Sure.
But at a wedding, when I've been there, they end up inviting me as a guest, which is really sweet. And
that's really
so
cool.
That's nice.
Have you ever had to be a guest and fix something?
Actually, at my friend's wedding very recently, I just went back home last month for it. And her husband, we were calling him Groomzilla. We said it was actually his wedding. I guess he dropped some last minute weight and his pants were falling off at the end. So I had to run in there and sew him into his pants real quick right before walking down the aisle.
I'm hearing some crazy costs of weddings, and what weddings have become, I think maybe because of the Instagram craze and how, everybody's one-upping. Have you noticed that at all?
Oh,
Just
for
how
sure.
elaborate or maybe even what people are asking for with you?
The Pinterest weddings.
Is
Yeah,
that what
that
it
changed
is?
the game. I think so.
Is there a rise? I mean, in the awareness of weddings or something? I do see it a lot. Like I see the industry popping up in whether it's photography and videographers
Right.
or stylists. I just feel like the
They never end.
industry maybe is having a bit of a bubble. You know, I don't know.
I guess maybe the pandemic had something to do with that.
Okay.
Everybody's playing catch up and kind of overlapping
Yeah.
since everything was shut down and really couldn't have weddings for those couple years. I don't know if that's what it is or if it's just more in our face.
Yeah, I was telling you last night before having you on the show. My experience, somewhat in your lane, I guess, was my ex-girlfriend's sister went to Cornell to be a couture wedding designer. Like it's really cool, and to hear her when she was younger dreaming of this, and doing mock-ups, which I could imagine you were doing, and she had the bust model or whatever that she could
The dress form.
put it on, and you could see the young girl's passion, which I can see in you, just like driving through things, like and then lo and behold, this young lady is I found out randomly on a thing about her name is Ashley Paige, so Ashley Paige wedding couture, right? Or
Yeah, I'm not
a
exactly sure
very
her
well-known
business name, but yes.
artist,
Yes.
designer, and she had all kinds. You might have to help me. I don't want to go into it too long, but it's like she kind of lost her name, her
Right.
rights to her name or something because of a contract and between a big company thinking that she's ransoming people over through her social media, and because of all that stuff, she ended up losing her designer name, Ashley Paige Designs, or
Right. And I also think part of that was she wasn't allowed to touch bridal anymore, like just designing wedding gowns anymore.
I mean,
that was part of it. I think there's a time limit on it. I don't really know what she signed or how that is developing now.
I sit here, that breaks my heart
Yeah, that's really
That
hard. I
breaks
can't
my heart.
imagine that happening.
to go through that. But that I only brought that up because of the wedding market is a big deal, and I can imagine designing dresses is also a big deal, right? I mean, do you see where do you see most of your work right now? Is it in bridal? Is it more in celebrity and music? Or where do you see your work
I think
business move at?
Yeah, I think there's been a good balance between the two. I would say those are the two categories that have kept me going recently and consistently. I think I dabble in a little bit of tailoring and alterations as well in between. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have an exact focus. I feel like I'm just into whatever projects present themselves that I can get excited about, that there's some sort of personal thing behind.
Sure.
Yeah, so storytelling is like very important to me and doing that through fashion.
Did you move to Nashville with something in mind, to maybe get into the entertainment or into the music scene? Was that something that, it seems like an awesome idea, because that's what I did. I moved from LA to here, and I was I do great with directing and photos, and I can imagine, honestly, like, you're now doing Megan Maroney's, like you said, her armor, and she's known for these sparkling red carpet and stage outfits, right?
Yeah, so I think what I started doing initially back in LA is I got really into the pageant industry, and that was a way for me to showcase me making my gowns, which was always my biggest interest.
Okay.
And then from there, working in LA, I kept dabbling in and out of fashion just because I didn't love the egos, the personalities I was dealing with in that city. And around that time, I met somebody who mentioned, like, I'd seen your work. I think your aesthetic would do really well in Nashville because you were from Nashville.
Yeah.
And kind of planted that seed. And
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, I was like, well, that makes sense. I love country music. Yeah, you're very right about how this would make sense.
Yeah.
And then just from there, started reaching out to stylists out here and seeing what would happen. And I would come back and forth like, once or twice a year.
Okay.
Wasn't fully committed to moving out here yet. But one of the first trips out here I took, it was actually in Hendersonville. I was out on the lake, and I looked out there at sunset, and I said, oh, no. I'm going to be here, huh?
Yeah,
Like,
someone handed you an adorable puppy and said,
yeah,
do you like it? Well,
this is what we're doing. I don't know when. I wasn't quite ready in that moment, but I said, I think I'm going to be here.
It hit you, huh?
Yeah, it did.
That's really cool. So how did you come in contact with Megan?
I stalked her for a year.
Awesome.
Obsessed with her.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I tried everything. I tried to get her attention on social media so many times. It was like, you don't understand. This makes sense. Like, we have to work together.
That's awesome. You don't know. I dream of doing exactly what you are wanting.
Exactly. I get you.
That's great.
And
so you just hit her up on DM?
Yeah, sweet. DMs and the comments, they're probably still there. It's a lot. I should be a little more embarrassed, but
no,
it's fine.
Because look what
out.
you're doing. Look what you're doing, and that should be a testament to anybody who's listening and watching. Is like, and that's what I'm discovering about you. Yeah. You did do that 2-hour train. You did call up Ashley Paige. You did make you have your warning signs like, oh, this is going to be where I'm moving.
Yeah.
You have to calculate and get your things, all your chips in order to move. Okay, so
For sure.
So you stalked her, and then she just said, "Come meet me." And...
No, she didn't. She did not. I might have scared her a little bit.
She had to meet you in public.
Right. She's like, don't give her my phone number. No, she actually had her team reach out to my friend that I would come and work with when I'd come out here for like 2 months at a time.
Okay.
And it was the day that the CMA nominations were announced. And she was like, let's do custom. Reached out to my best friend, Crystal Douglas. She's incredible. And Crystal, being such a good friend, and I mean, she's one of my mentors. So like she could have taken this job and ran with it.
That's awesome.
But because all for a year that I would talk about is Megan Maroney, she gets this call and she said, I can't. I'm going to connect you with the person you need to talk to. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Go for Crystal.
I know. What an angel.
Crystal?
Douglas.
Crystal Douglas.
Music City Sewing. Shout out to them.
That's awesome.
She's
That's
incredible.
I love that character. So so let's get into these dresses.
Okay.
When did we talk to get you? The other night,
like 2
right?
2 days ago.
Okay, you were stitching, right?
Sure was.
You were stitching. Was I assume?
Yeah, it
for
was
Megan?
for Megan.
Okay.
Yeah.
How many? Does she have a different dress for every night?
I feel like we try our best to do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was just
It's
kind
pretty
of...
consistent. Yeah.
I didn't know.
Yeah, we switch it up. I mean, similar silhouettes and styles. Like with the Kenny tour, I think we pretty much did the exact same dress, just different color variations. And now we're going into, fall, winter. So we're trying some long sleeve options and playing with that. Definitely skirt always stays her very iconic look. Yeah, so we get to play a little bit more with the top half of things.
Okay, so does she travel? Okay, you don't travel with her, but does she travel with 4 or 5?
I don't know exactly.
You know,
I know she has a wardrobe case full of all of them.
Options and
I don't
all
know
those.
how it goes logistically on the road.
How long does it take to kind of create one?
I think I've got it down to 18 hours, 14 to 18, which sounds like a lot if you do what I do, because it is on the outside such a simple little dress, but there's so many layers and so much structure that most people don't see, but Megan can feel it, and that's what's important.
That is cool. Do you have any interest in working with the men's side of country music?
I actually have dabbled, especially with tailoring and alterations.
Okay.
But
that's what you're saying.
Yeah, but learning a whole new skill of pattern drafting and draping for menswear, I just haven't had the time to slow down, and I have to do it right. I can't.
You have to give what's his Manuel?
Yeah.
His whole piece.
Oh my gosh, yes.
He's amazing. Have you gone to his store in Berry Hill?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's amazing.
Have to
Yeah, a
pop
lot
in.
of the artists from Yellow Wolf has a number of pieces. Jake Owen has a number of pieces. I think Dan from Dan and Shay had a couple pieces. Or actually, I
great.
think Dan and Shay had pieces. But
Yeah.
I'm starting to see, the reason I asked is I'm starting to see artists I've even worked with, men having like a suit with kind of that spark or that that old Western feel.
Right, like the nudie suit.
Yeah.
all
Is that
the
something
chain
that
stitching.
is that something that even crosses your radar?
I would love to.
I would think it'd be cool.
Yeah, but there's a whole other set of skill there. And
Like what? Like how is it
stitching,
different?
the machines that you need to use,
It's different?
embroidery, all of that, like the application, and then the way you put together menswear. Like jackets are so hard.
I can't. Because you're
hate
dealing.
tailoring jackets.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do it and I will do it, but it's not my favorite. I'd take a wedding gown any day, and most people don't want to touch that. So,
There you go.
yeah, everybody has their own wheelhouse, I think.
Is there? What about what's her name? Taylor Swift has really kind of unique stage. I saw something the other day, like the whole. I think it was actually in Nashville. I don't know where it blew up. The whole place just went erupted because she had a new bodysuit on.
Oh, in Miami, I
Okay, it
did
was
see
Miami.
that. Yeah.
I was thinking
Yeah.
just in this conversation. I'm like, wait, everybody was, whole
Yes.
40,000 whatever people were just like based off of that suit. Is she has someone just like you, I guess, designing and build, all that.
Yeah, she has a big team. So when you're at that level, you have your stylist. I think sometimes they end up doing the costume wardrobe department also on your tour. Then they work with bigger design houses.
Okay.
Like she has Versace and things like that,
Yeah.
custom making her pieces.
Sure.
So it's not necessarily her stylist doing that, but they're making those connections and working together to custom make those pieces.
I got you. Now, do you have an agent? Do you have, or
don't.
is that something that is in your, because as you said that, I'm like, okay, well then that means you get your agent and that person will have a reach out to whomever.
Yeah, I'm
Is
sure
that-
bigger people than me have that.
Well,
I don't
I'm just
know.
saying, is that, well, I mean,
Yeah.
is that something that crosses your mind to have an agent?
Maybe one day. I think that would be nice to filter some stuff out. So I can just focus on my sewing and designing aspect,
Yeah.
but not quite there yet.
Yeah. Does the business, I've noticed even just running my own business, like it took a while. So that like, you're on set and next thing you know, like you're in it over your head with all that you have to do creatively, but you're also getting all the business stuff that's happening due to whatever is fires that need to be put out on the job. And it definitely changes the perspective, or it definitely kills the vibe of the moment of trying to create,
can.
when you're signing an overtime check.
Yes.
But has that, I don't know, running your business ever crimped any relationships, or just like the active business, working in the music business isn't really easy. And you're getting delayed on pay. I mean, I find it really interesting too, because we have direct relationships with the artists, but then when the business side gets handled, it's all the other people that don't necessarily know the blueprint that was laid out between me and the artist.
Right.
And I find that frustrating in the communication at times. What says you on that? Is that, because you have deadlines, speedy things, and you're not getting it from Megan, you're getting it from people, right? You said?
Yeah, most of the time I work with management.
Yeah.
Yeah, not with Megan's team, but other things.
Sure.
Especially with like tailoring and alterations and really busy times around award shows. There's just so much happening at the same time, and it's like busy, busy, busy. Oh wait, I need to get paid. So I think I've run into some of that, or like the delay on payments because it needs to go through the label or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've just had conversations to now where it's like, as a tailor, if I'm coming in, you have 2 weeks to fill my invoice. I don't care if it's coming from the label or whoever. Just get that taken care of so we don't have to talk about late fees and things like that. I don't think it needs to be a bigger issue.
But you've had to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's really an awkward conversation. I don't like doing that.
And I think that sometimes that's the issue, is that the creatives were not the best with
Not at all.
tainting the waters, poisoning the waters of what we really love and the joy of creating, to then have this anxiety of, well, is this gonna spoil the meal? Is this gonna ruin the relationship? Are they gonna think I'm nickel and diming?
Right.
But on my right shoulder, my better half is saying, yeah, but you promised X, Y, and Z. I'm not the one breaking X, Y, and Z, but why am I,
Yeah.
And at a certain point, after being in this business long enough, you just kind of draw that line.
Yeah, I think that's the only way. So there's never any resentment going on. I think the hard part too is just feeling very replaceable. So that's always something in the back of your mind before having those conversations, that you're like, oh, well, this could work against me and not for me. But so far, I think I've let my work speak for itself.
Absolutely.
And people come back.
Ultimately, that's where I'm at too. It's just like, I just want the work to speak. I'm not asking for the world.
No.
But I am asking for what it takes to do what you like flawlessly. Like, I will be able to, I don't want to have to be having anxiety in my own house of how I'm going to deliver something because of irrational expectations on their end.
Right. And I think that's fair.
Exactly. What would be one of the biggest challenges that you faced, kind of getting to where I guess you feel like you're on the right track? It wasn't always that way, right? Did you face something? Was it the move? Is there something that you just had to overcome in yourself to say, good?
I think I've always struggled with maybe not believing in myself as much. Life hasn't been the easiest for me, just family life and things. So I think I had a turning point in 2017. I had a really rough year. There were a couple close calls, and that just shifted my perspective of like, I don't even know how I'm still here sometimes.
Wow. Close calls, life-changing moments. Okay.
So I figured, if this is what I love to do, let's just give it a shot, go all in. For whatever reason, I kept feeling very drawn to and called to Nashville. And I was so 1 foot in, 1 foot out for a few years there. Just, I was scared. I didn't want to leave my family. My grandparents are very important to me. Yeah. I didn't want to feel like I was losing time with them or being too far. So that's why I did kind of dabble in coming back and forth here for a few years. And then I realized like my work is here, and it's work that like really fulfills me. And everybody here has been so kind and good to me. Cool. And so now I really can just lean into being a fashion designer, where I think the personalities were always the aspect that took me away from it in LA. Like, I just didn't want to be part of that world.
Got it.
So here it just felt better. It felt right.
That's awesome. When did you feel like you figured out your style? Because that's, for me, that was it. When, because you're trying to, and what I mean by that is like you think you got your style, right? But then guess what happens? That's my style. But then guess what?
Yeah.
And I do feel like I'm at that point now where I'm like a needle nose. I know what I like and I know what I don't like.
Yes.
I know what I've been through, where I don't like to fix all that stuff. I know when that turning point happened.
Right.
What was it for you? Did you have that?
I don't know about the exact turning point, but I think if I zoom out, I can see how it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
I've always loved art, like impressionist art especially is one of my favorite things. I get really emotional when I see pieces.
Okay.
And then I loved classic film, and playing dress up as a kid. I think that's where I just got really into like the glamour and the gown aspect. And then that went into pageantry, and then
like,
the
I can imagine you
stage.
liking Sex in the City, right?
Of course.
That had to do something.
Yeah, of course it did. Yeah, we love that. That closet is, iconic. So yeah, I think it went from pageants to then work and connecting it with. I always thought I would do costume, like in the film industry.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be an avenue because of all of the things that I love. But I just never got into like the SAG union, stuff like that.
Well, do you think it's out of the question, or do you think?
Maybe one day I could do it. I'm still interested.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, wow, it could really, the right movie, the right script, or the right show, whatever, it could really
I would definitely
push you pretty far.
Love to try it.
Okay.
But then I think I've always had a love of music, and I'm not like I don't have a musical talent in this body. It's just that's not me. But I admire it and love it so much. Sure. So to find some way to combine the two has been really cool. Yeah. And just bringing somebody's songs to life, and just like having a tiny element of being able to do that makes me feel like I'm doing something more than just making pretty dresses. Yeah, no, I mean, it's really cool, because I wanted to ask you, like I did at the very beginning, was I didn't know if you dabbled in the, I gotta say it right, stylist part, but you broke it down perfectly, the shopping versus the actual sewing, right? Yeah, and I think that's kind of been more so my passion, is like in the hands-on creating of things. And part of the like interest in impressionist art, like if you look at the textiles that I choose for Megan specifically, like I tend to go with stuff that has more movement and is a little more abstract than just like geometrics. You say stories. Mm-hmm. You're drawn to the stories. Can you explain to me what you mean by stories with regards to the project you worked with Troy, the album art? Yeah, so I think one of the coolest moments for me on that was the visualizer, like video teaser, whatever it was. I don't know, sorry, the terminology. I don't know the terminology either these days, so don't worry. But for this song called Hell of a Show, and I hadn't heard the song before, and it was really emotional and heavy, and about how she was in this relationship where she didn't feel supported, but every night she would, go on and go into a room full of people who were so excited to see her, and she'd put on her dress and put on her sparkly guitar and go do her thing. And that's where it came to me, where it's like, wow, it really is like that armor piece. Like that's part of, how you're getting through what you're doing, even though there's so much going on behind the scenes that people will never know. I have never met Megan, but I saw her side stage when I was photographing Chase Matthew at the Opry, and she looks familiar. And I did, because she was wearing glasses, a baggy hoodie, and some boots and sweats, and I'm like, wait, someone said that Megan was here. I was like, what? Because the transformation, right? Like, and I just thought of that with what you said, because it's kind of like two different, kind of not people, but like it is her armor when she's gonna go out and give herself and be vulnerable to all those people. She wants to have that shield of armor around that. So what's next for you now? Like I have no idea. You don't plan out. You don't have a. Do you work with stylists closely? Stylists and you work closely to. I would imagine the two of you have to be together, right? It depends what I'm doing. Okay, so like a video, you would, right? I guess. I don't know. I haven't really had that happen. Oh, okay. I haven't done a whole lot of videos. And when I have been on the video side of things, one of my random jobs was being a stylist assistant. Because I was like, well, if the opportunity's there, has to do with fashion. Sure. I'm well trained in all of this stuff. I can show up on set and do that. Yeah. And it's been funny when things like that have happened, because then I turn into the on-set tailor by accident, because, you have fashion emergencies. You have all that. Yeah. Do you travel a lot with your work? I mean, for work. For work, yes, I have. But I don't travel, like I don't go on the road with Megan or anything like that. I would say it's kind of fun because I get to go home technically a lot, because that's where I go get my fabrics and everything and all my supplies. And then I come back and I work in Nashville. So I was going to ask you, do you get your supplies from LA more than in New York? Absolutely. Okay. Is it the fashion district that I said? It is. Yeah. I know the spots. I do. I know. I know them well. So you don't see yourself right now trying to get by onto the bug of transitioning to TV or anything like that. I'm open to it. Yeah. I mean, nowadays with it being so close to Atlanta, Yeah. And agents somewhat in your
you don't necessarily see it, but you in your near future.
It makes sense. I would be open to that as well.
I have a kind of a love-hate relationship myself with agents. There's been one agent who I've started with, and I absolutely love him. We did a lot of work together, but a lot of the times I found that agents, I'm doing a lot of the work, you know, and then I hand off basically the contract just to close it, and
right.
It's like over time I kind of felt like I had to break away and do my own thing. Style. Do you feel like it's important to trademark and to really hammer home one style, or to be kind of have many different feathers in your cap in your lane?
I think it's important to be well-rounded no matter what it is in life you're doing. So one thing that like people may not be so familiar with, because I am such in the girly glitz and glam part, is like I've worked with like an artist, PJ Morton. I've worked on a jacket for him and done some like embroidery work and hand beading and stuff. So it's like you wouldn't think that that's my vibe, but I like doing stuff like that too. And I feel like I'm an artist in general. I pigeonholed into designer at this point in my career, but I like a challenge. I like exploring, experimenting, just being open and seeing where the wind blows me.
Do you have to, when you get your stuff from LA, do you typically just buy it all, get it there, do anything? Do you cut it up? I mean, do you build anything, or you just bring all fabric back here and this is your new lab?
It depends. I do a little bit of both.
Really?
Yeah. Because the fabric weighs a lot. And also, I don't travel light, so to bring it all back with me, sometimes it makes sense if I know exactly what I'm using it for, to cut it down a little bit and leave some of the remnants behind.
Do you have a favorite dress you've done? It's something a piece that you have made.
Dress.
It doesn't have to be Megan's. It could be anything that you're just like, I'm stoked on what this is. You maybe didn't have a clear idea of what it was going to be, and it just because of spontaneity or instinct. Became what it was?
I just always go back to Megan's red carpet dress, our first one together. That was just really special and exciting. And,
really?
Yeah, and getting to be on the carpet with her that day and just seeing everybody's reactions. And when she went and did her official portraits, like I got a little emotional. I was like, okay, pull it together. You don't know these people around you. This is like her professional team. Cool. So that was just a really big, cool moment for me.
Yeah, because you stalked her to get finally there.
I know.
You got there.
Sure did.
was that because at that point that was the kind of unveiling? Is that the first
that's when the world saw it. Yeah.
Was that the first time?
Well, that wasn't the first piece we did together. That was what made her team like connect with me, and the first thing we talked about doing. But then they were like, "Wait, can you like do tour stuff too?" So it was really cool because it ended up working out where her first thing was, I think, Jimmy Kimmel.
Okay.
And so, familiar territory for me, Hollywood. So I got to be there for that taping. And then she had a Troubadour show. And like I said, I love music. Yeah. So Hotel Cafe and Troubadour are my favorite places in LA.
Troubadour's amazing.
So that was just really cool that was also like one of the first times that people were seeing her like new dress that I had done for her.
Wow, that is cool. What advice would you give to someone who maybe the little girl who's coming up? Would you give anything to that person?
I would say just follow your intuition and stay determined, believe in yourself.
There you go.
And just keep practicing. I learned so much from trial and error, doing things all the wrong way first, and then surrounding myself with people who are better than me and learning hands-on through them is really important, especially in a trade like this.
For sure. I'm impressed with the your persistence in your drive.
Thank you.
To do it. I could probably go on. I don't want to pry into your youth, but you said
You
said
can.
enough to where it's like, look, I had to take the train to get to school, and one of the most frightening things was where it scared you, or I think you said that was when other kids were just not even really putting that what you have waited so long to do, they're kind of throwing that away. Well, that right there alone says why I believe you're where you are now, and I greatly appreciate you being here with me and bringing Lucky
Thank you for having us
with us here today. I'm honestly, I think I don't know a lot, like I said earlier, about design. I wear hoodies all the time,
So do I. Don't let this fool you.
I'm not that stylish, but I will say, when you were like, when I asked you to be on the show, it's like, yeah, I'm extremely impressed with your work, and I'm only more impressed hearing your story. So thank you so much.
Thank you.